Okay, I'm going to speak about the economy. Now, economy has both linear and circular nature in it. If you take the material, it is circular. Okay, but even that is not circular because some of the helium and certain lighter gases they escape from the atmosphere. For that reason, there is a time arrow in it. If you take the energy, definitely it's that because of the entropy, it has a time arrow. So it has a linear element. So you can't build circular economy. And these people talk about developed countries. I don't accept the developed country concept. It has no meaning to me because of this linear nature and the cyclic nature. So if you look at what has happened to Europe, because they have followed the orders of America, they are totally gone, right? And if you take the jungle and the garden, jungle provides the entropy. And we see with Ibrahim Traore that how the Africans are struggling against Western domination. So we are having a different regime. Economically, we are having a different era. Now, I want to say something about Aquarius. Aquarius have two planets, okay? Early it used to be only Saturn. Now you have the other planet also. So when you go to this, when you take that part of Aquarius, the interpretations are different in the modern thing and the old system. It is different, okay? So there might be some confusion when I spoke about Aquarius, okay? Astrology is a fascinating subject. We should reject it or we should accept it. We should not reject it because the Western people, most of the Western people reject it. That's up to the Western people to reject it, right? So that's something I want to tell. Now, if you take material, it is water which is most important in economics. Okay? Energy, just as energy is important, water is also important. So you have to get the water cycle going. Now when you have these septic tanks and things like that, we are breaking the water cycle. We are breaking the cycle. Okay? And if you take septic tanks, what you are trapping there is material and water. So you have to recycle the water. And in our country, there are some laws which are told to me by a lawyer that if you take the high buildings, that water has to be pumped after treatment. They have to pump into the sea. No. If you take the rainwater, it has to be absorbed into the ground. That is how you complete the cycle. Right? If you pump into the sea, then you are draining the water. So you are actually harming the cycle. So you have the three kinds of water. You have green water, then you have grey water, and you have black water. Black water comes from the toilet. Grey water mostly comes from the bathrooms, you're bathing and things like that. So if you are having high-rising buildings, you have to get the water from there and you have to, rainwater, you have to harvest that and you have to use that for toilets. Okay? But in our country, I am told it is not used for toilet, it is pumped to the sea. So that means you are running out of fresh water. Okay, so that is a problem that has to be addressed. Right? So that means you can't put payments. If you have, say, a condominium, you have to have a lot of grass. In our system, we put the payments. If you put the payments, means there is no water going to the water table. That means you are depleting your water table even more. If you are industrializing or even agriculture takes about 85% of the fresh water. So other industries and urban is 15%. Now drip irrigation can reduce water usage, but if the water goes into the ground, it's there. So if you have a severe crisis in water, then you have to manage it. But I'm not saying drip irrigation is good or bad. There are two aspects of it. It is drip irrigation, you need less water for irrigation for agriculture, but the excess water you waste, it goes into the ground. So it's not but to pump the water out, then you have to use energy. So that's a debatable point whether by drip irrigation you are going to gain or not. So you have to harvest the water, right? And if you take the human waste, now urine has no pathogens. If you are a healthy person, it has about 2% urea. So when you put your urine in the septic tank, you are breaking the cycle. Okay, I will not go beyond that. So one of the things I taught my students is that you have to be a little bit uncivilized when it comes to urination. I will not go beyond that. Even human waste, I think you can generate energy from it and then later on use it as fertilizer after some treatment. Either you use it chemically or you have to heat it up. Okay? So this water thing, I am saying, if you take if you have a huge building which is maybe more than even 300 million rupees or something like that, then you have to harvest the water. You have to harvest the rainwater and use it for toilets. Okay? Even a normal house can have that, but you can't do that because you have to put pumps and you have to have storage tanks, and so it's for a normal house you don't have the resource. It's a good idea, but you can't do it for practical purpose. You can, but if you want to approve this, so you have to stop paving and you have to have grass. Now when you have grass, your maintenance cost is extra. Okay. So I had some person coming and telling to my house, why there is no payments in your house? I have very little payments. Yes, you are very stingy. Why are not putting payments? So in our country, most of the urban area, there is no payment. That means your water table is going down. Okay, so that is not sustainable. Okay, now going back to Saturn, Aquarius, you have Saturn and Uranus there. It has two different aspects in it. Okay. I think a lot of people reject astrology because some of the Western people reject it. I think that's a stupid idea. If you reject astrology, you have to reject it because you think it, not because Donald Trump or somebody else thinks of it. I think that's colonial mindset. Okay, I just deviated there. So you have to treat water like energy. It's even more precious than energy. And you have to harvest water. And if you can take the toilet septic tanks and produce, because I think some of these countries they dump it into the sea. I think is bad. So if you can produce fertilizer out of that, then you have won. And so you recycle the human waste, then you need less material, less new material from the surface, because that is something, nutritious, and you might have pathogens. So either you have to use chemicals or you have to heat it up. And then if you have these large buildings in Sri Lanka, in our country, then you should have solar energy on top. So if you have solar energy, you are capturing more energy and your temperature goes down, and then you have to harvest the water. and you have to be mindful of the cyclic nature of the world. If you go to a jungle, it is almost cyclic, right? So there is no septic tank or anything like that. So that aspect has to look into. I think there will be severe water crisis in about another 50 years or so, and the water thing can be solved. But for normal households, you might not be able to solve it because you need a lot of investments. But if you take, condominiums and other things, then you have to change the laws in Sri Lanka, in our country.